well, I think this is a continuation here. It became instantly compressed. In other words, when he poured that cobble into the trench, it was completely compressed because the rocks were meeting point to point, and we didn't have to compress it at all. And that rock saved us $4,000 in cement by not having to use a cement foundation. And as moisture moves through our property from the mountains, at one time it even caused a blowout of our land before we even got here that shook foundations throughout the town of Vallecitos. And so I know that this water, that the land can become saturated with water, and I'm glad to know that a concrete foundation will not be blocking and damming up that water and causing it to freeze and crack. While I'm out here, I want to show you my roof, which is a Propanel roof. It's getting a little bit dark, but I think you can see. I put underneath the roof 1x2s and 2x2s, creating a channel above each rafter. I have 2x2s going up, creating air channels that run all the way up to the top and can be collected for heating the home, which I don't think I'll ever need, but I might need it for cooling the home by allowing the cold air or the hot air gathering underneath that hot Propanel to escape these vents up at the top, so that it would pull the hot air from the inside of my home, just with registers. Ooh, it's cold out here. It's so warm in here you wouldn't believe. Where I could put registers right into the south side of my roof, ceiling. My upstairs floor is right there, and that way the Propanel roof would pull hot air out of the building up and out through the gable exhaust, just passively, without even needing a fan. So those are a few thoughts I had on radiant heating, and the importance of realizing that until fossil fuels came, we depended entirely on radiant heat. For example, even a Franklin stove would radiate heat into a building, and it wasn't really designed to heat air. Heat air only came with fans, ductwork, dampers, thermostats, where we're actually blowing air which accumulates up at the ceiling, not where we are. And depending on air to keep us comfortable is extremely inefficient compared to direct radiant heating. And so as we realize that we have become overly dependent on as Tom Hartman calls it, the last hours of ancient sunlight. That's a book that I highly recommend called The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by Tom Hartman. Tom is spelled like that. Hartman, one of my heroes. This book, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, is like a Bible for us solar enthusiasts who basically are excited about the possibility of having a regenerative planet for our grandchildren. And I would like to make the next topic that of regenerative agriculture. I want to touch on that because regenerative agriculture, as I pointed out earlier, can reverse climate change, according to scientists, and end the immigration problem from the south, where almost all the soil has been destroyed by chemicals, and the end of life introduced to seeds. What many people in our country consider a sin against God. To bring death into seeds and to end the possibility of families supporting themselves from the land in many countries of the world, and looking for work north of the border in the USA. Mexico is now importing transgenic corn with end of life. It's now the greatest importer of transgenic corn from the U.S. when it used to be the greatest exporter of regenerative corn in the world. And so all those millions of farmers who have to leave their fields come up into the USA, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let's move to ag. Let's look under ag. And my next video will be a little bit about what I've discovered with regenerative agriculture.